Roxanne Klein, 36, and a raw food chef.
And I'm Michael Klein, and I'm 45 and chairman of Rainforest Action Network.
I have been vegan for 10 years, and basically before that I've been pretty much vegetarian all my life, and finally realized that I needed to get rid of dairy. And as soon as I made that change, that was a big change right there. Everything, I felt better. I stopped getting sick. I used to get sick, with this change of seasons. And once I took dairy out of my life, I felt so much better. And I'd gone to California Culinary Academy about 9 years ago into doing that. It was definitely hard to stay vegetarian and much less vegan in that arena, but I did. And I worked at top restaurants and trying to, in fact, at that point, educate a lot of chefs on doing things a vegetarian, vegan way. And I say with that, I was working on a cookbook for quite a while, doing vegan cuisine. And then it was about 3 years ago, mutual friend of ours, Woody Harrelson, we were in Thailand with him, and he was eating raw foods, talking the whole deal with us. Finally got us to start trying it, and we went back to home, and we travel a lot, and I'd tried a restaurant in Maui, and then there was Giuliano's place in San Francisco, and just started getting hooked up with trying this way of eating, and the results, I just couldn't deny how we felt, all the changes. It was too incredible to not keep on doing that. So that's what we've been doing for the last 3 years, the raw foods.
I've also been vegan for 10 years, and I converted with several members of the Grateful Dead. The three of us in particular converted at exactly the same time for completely different reasons. One of the band members was obese. Ultimately, his obesity killed him, unfortunately. Another band member developed throat cancer and went to Sloan Kettering Hospital and said, all I really care about is my singing. I'll do anything to beat this. I'll even quit smoking. And the head of throat cancer at Sloan Kettering said, don't worry about the smoking. I'll cut this out, and if you never eat another bite of animal fat, I promise you this will never return. And he said, I can do that. And at the same time, I happened to read John Robbins' book, Diet for a New America. And in particular, the last third of the book, which was about the environmental impact of our diet on the planet, really destroyed the celebration of eating for me, eating a non-vegan diet. I had always thought of myself as a committed environmentalist, and when I realized that if 20% of the people in the United States would just change their diet, it could do more to save the planet than all the environmental groups combined, there was no way I could go back to eating a meat-based diet. So the transition was something really easy for us. The band had it set up with an 18-wheeler with a full vegan kitchen in it and a vegan chef, and we had a 24-hour room service arrangement with Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton, so that the transition was really very easy for us. We built a large garden and started growing our own food, and it changed my life totally. Then, as Roxanne said, about 3 years ago, we got into raw, and that took me up to a whole nother level of health and just spiritual awareness of what impact food was having on our lives.
I have a 3 and a 9-year-old and 2 stepchildren. And I think as being a mother, all of a sudden just doing raw foods, my energy just to deal with life and what's going on in our house, I went from just after eating dinner and feeling like ready to go to bed, pass out, to just all this energy. And definitely I was a person, I had to have 8 hours sleep or don't talk to me, to 5 or 6, and I'd wake up just feeling amazing. I mean, that was the biggest thing that I think that happened. And then just physically, my skin, felt like my skin changed, got the coloring, everything got better. one amazing thing, especially being here in Jamaica, I'm noticing again and again is I stopped using sunscreen. I'm fair skinned. I'd go out, I would just burn, and now I don't have any sunscreen and I'm getting tan. So that's pretty amazing as well. And then just, I think overall the clarity, and there's like a new connection within myself and with how I relate to our earth, our planet, that you can't help but getting when you're eating what Mother Nature has given us. And you become part of Earth, I think, again. And I think the vitality, there's a different vibration going on, and that's what's just interesting to see, being part of, coming together as a big group, is you can tell who's doing raw foods. I mean, there's definitely a fog or a numbness, I think, that I can really spot now. People that are meat eaters or just, different lifestyle. And there's just a vitality that is just almost contagious when you're around people like this, that I love it.
Well, our first interest in organics was based primarily on environmental considerations and the damage that we were doing to the planet with these long-lived organochlorine chemicals that would be around for generations to come. I was tremendously impacted by Theo Colburn's book, Our Stolen Future, which is about hormone disruption and how the chemicals actually don't necessarily poison us directly by creating mutation, but affect our whole bodies through mimicking hormones. So that was our initial interest in them, but then we found out, of course, that heirloom seeds, non-hybrid seeds that have been passed on for generation to generation, my God, they've been selected for flavor and nutrition, as opposed to the food that you buy in a grocery store, which has been selected genetically for shelf life, transportability, cosmetics, and you get down 6th or 7th on the list and flavor comes in if it's involved at all in the development process. So we built a large organic farm in our home in California, where we try and grow as much of our food as we can, and all of it, of course, organic, and almost all of it heirloom seeds. We were involved in the founding of a company called Seeds of Change, which is sort of like Indiana Jones running around knocking a hole in an adobe wall and finding some old corn, pieces of corn, and germinating it and finding these incredible flavors and incredible depth of the gene pool that Mother Nature has given us. One of the scariest things about what's going on the planet is how we're systematically destroying the gene pool, probably thinking that we can recreate it ourselves in the laboratory. But in fact, the foods that have evolved in nature and have evolved to live in particular regions are the richest in nutrition and the richest in flavor, and that was a joyous discovery for us. There's nothing more wonderful than for Roxanne and I going down to the garden together and picking what we're going to have for dinner that evening. It's so alive, and it puts us so much closer to the whole experience that it's one of our great joys.
Well, I think with organic foods you do get, just like you said, it's grown for flavor, not looking like, like a bell pepper or whatever that we imagine it's supposed to look from a picture. But you'll get interesting shapes and striations of color. And there's nothing like, picking a tomato and eating it still warm from the sun. Just the flavors burst out at you. And then, as well, knowing that you're doing an important part for our planet to do this way. I mean, this is, by eating raw living foods, eating organic, we're doing such a huge part to make this, save the planet and make it, sustainable living. That's another reason why we decided together to do a restaurant in our community. It's going to be called Roxanne's Raw Planet, and it's going to be in Larkspur, California, which is about 15 minutes from San Francisco. And it was important to me to create, help create a strong Northern California raw foods community, just for all those goals, to start supporting organic farmers. And we'll get a lot of things from the farm we have, but I also want to help support small people, these small local farmers doing things, and to see how we can heal people and heal this planet all together by doing this restaurant. And we certainly have a large vision from there, which I'd love to, I'd love to see a raw planet in every major city across the United States someday. It just has to happen, that consciousness. People start eating this way, the consciousness can't help but being lifted to another level.
I believe that 2020 report was a terrible disservice, and I wouldn't be surprised if the information fed to that reporter came from the American agribusiness industry. In fact, the risk of contamination from manure exists equally, if not more so, in non-organic food products than in organic products. And when you have the care and love that local organic farmers are putting into their products, I can guarantee you're going to get a safer, healthier product than you will from the American food machine. So I think that was a terrible thing that happened there, and I know he's apologized now, but the damage has been done. And we'll have to spend a lot of time letting America know that the truth is something very different.
Yeah, a lot of friends have said, it's winter now, doesn't it just kill you not to have some hot soup or something hot in your diet? And, I never miss it. If I ever had and wanted to try a cooked soup, I think I would, I know I'd regret it so much after, the way I'd feel. Because when I stay with living foods all throughout the winter, my body is so nourished, and, I'm getting what is in season, which there's a reason that it's in season in our area. It perfectly nourishes and gives me everything I need to feel warm, to feel healthy and good throughout winter. A lot of people I see, winter comes, their energy level, everything kind of goes down for winter, and wondering, well, what pill are you taking? What are you doing just to stay so vibrant during the winter? And I'm just going with what nature is doing at that time of year. And I don't feel deprived of having any hot foods. And if I ever do, there's always, we have a kind of a crock pot that we can set at 105 degrees and put one of our soups or a carrot soup or something in to get a slight bit of warmth, which satisfies that at any given time.
Eating organic, raw living foods is absolutely the healthiest thing you can do for the planet. I was astounded when I learned that at the root of almost every major environmental problem is the diet the average American eats. On a single acre of land, you can grow enough grain to raise about 250 pounds of store-bought beef, or you can grow 50,000 pounds of vegetables. The amount of refrigeration and energy, the amount of oil consumed, not only in the fertilizers and everything that goes into growing the grains that we feed cattle, but then refrigeration and transportation. It's really important, if we're going to create a sustainable world, that we get to a world where the food that we eat comes from a very short distance around where we live, not raspberries from Chile and kiwis from New Zealand. And so raw foods is the ultimate manifestation of that lifestyle that will support a sustainable planet. And it's also the tastiest and healthiest. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win-win situation, eating organic and eating raw living foods.